Hey, Caitlin, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Looks like we just started the broadcast. So we do have some people that are coming in currently right now. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today. So the original webinar that we did have laid out for everybody today was to really talk about our holiday kits that are going to be launched next week. So super exciting information to come from that. However, we also wanted to utilize this time that we have with everybody to also talk about enzymes and masks. So we wanted to fill this hour with going through the Circadia enzymes, the Circadia mask, but also let you all know about some of our new holiday kits that are going to be launched here in the next week or so. So we've been working really hard on something that is great kits to retail, but in addition to that, they just look great. So we'll kind of be able to present that as well. So just a kind of quick, just kind of quick updates on here. I'm sure a few of you have been on a Circadia webinar before. So if you do have any questions, you can feel free to type those into the chat area. You have myself and Caitlin Macy Sandoval on as well. So we are the ones that typically do the Wednesday webinars. So Caitlin, did you want to kind of start it off and introduce the webinar?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for joining us today. We are going to talk through the enzyme collection that we offer as well as our masks. And we're really going to focus this on some product knowledge, but also really focusing on how you can utilize these tools in your treatment room. Customization is so critical, especially nowadays when people are coming back in for treatments and they may not have been able to receive a treatment for the past couple of months. So you really want to make sure that you're customizing their treatment to offer the optimal results. So you really have a wide variety of treatment tools when you're offering the Circadia enzymes and masks. So the first thing that we want to detail out is just the difference between an enzyme and how it works versus how an acid works, because your enzymes are going to be such a universal tool. And because they don't purposefully damage the skin, as we know with acids, we are trying to create a controlled wound that stimulates collagen and elastin production, and it removes surface proteins, but it does so through a wounding perspective. When we're working with with enzymes, it's working on a completely different mechanism. So enzymes are very particular as to what protein it breaks down. So it only is going to work on the desmosomes that sit in between the cells. You can see, as George is pointing out on the slide, these are kind of the snaps that are holding your cells together. So it only is going to attack that protein, which means it's a very gentle but very effective form of exfoliation. Because it's so gentle and it's not creating any damage to the skin, you can also pair it with a more aggressive, maybe a gel-based peel if you wanted to get a little bit more aggressive in your treatment option, but still limit the amount of downtime your customer sees. You can also do really nice facial massage, steam afterwards, and even steam going through your enzyme treatment, because again, you're not creating any damage. So as we go through the next couple of slides and we're talking about how these different enzymes are working and the three enzymes in particular that we're utilizing, just keep in mind that enzymes are exfoliating in a very different form and function than your traditional acids.
And then I just kind of want to add to that as well. So as Caitlin kind of mentioned, enzymes are they're really specific on which proteins they digest, which is that desmosome. One of the key benefits of enzymes in general is they're anti-inflammatory, or a lot of them are anti-inflammatory. So if you have enzymes that are coming from bromelain, derived from pineapple is also a nice anti-inflammatory. But in addition to that, Circadia does have a cocoa enzyme, and the cocoa that's in there is anti-inflammatory, antioxidants. Whereas traditionally with chemical peels, there's some inflammation that is associated with a chemical peel. A lot of the times that inflammation is going to be very beneficial to the skin because your body sees that inflammation as like a wound. It sees it as a trigger. So our body produces collagen and elastin when it feels like it's been damaged or something like that. So you always have to determine when to enzyme and when to acid. So Caitlin also mentioned how the Circadia enzymes are super versatile, kind of utilizing them in a facial setting. However, you'll also notice that we do have protocols where we sometimes not really mix the enzymes and acids together. What we'll do is we'll layer them. Either we'll layer them right on top of each other, or we will do the lactic acid first, neutralize it, remove it, and then do the enzyme. So you can get really creative. As you all know, we just launched our pumpkin mask. So our pumpkin mask, we're not really marketing it as an enzyme. We're marketing it more as a finishing mask. However, we can take that pumpkin mask because we do know pumpkin does have natural digestive proteins. And we can also increase the ability to exfoliate the skin by adding something like our lactic acid or alpha beta into it. So you just kind of transform that pumpkin mask into a mild light chemical peel, but you have to make sure to neutralize it as well. So Circadia does have three different enzymes to choose from. Of course, we do have an enzyme mask that's not in this category, but it does provide some enzymatic exfoliation. But if you are looking at the Circadia range or the Circadia line, you'll notice that there's three different enzymes. We like to refer to these enzymes as flavors. So we have three different flavors of enzymes. We have our cocoa enzyme, our raspberry, and our zymase. So the way that they're presented on this slide is all based on activity level. So with enzymes, you can't measure activity based on like percentage or based on pH. You know, you measure enzymes based on their specific amount of activity that they're producing. So the cocoa enzyme is going to be the least active, raspberry enzyme is the middle activity, and your zymase is going to be the most active. So all of our enzymes, you'll notice that they do come in a powder and an activator form. So this is pretty unique in the aesthetic industry. Most enzymes are pre-solubilized. However, the reason why we have our estheticians mix these before they apply it to the client, so enzymes in general, they are proteolytic. So enzymes are protein that digest or dissolve other protein. So if these enzymes were pre-solubilized, it's almost like it's cannibalizing on itself. So maybe the very first time you utilize a pre-solubilized enzyme, you get high activity. However, the longer it sits on the shelf, you lose activity because these enzymes are constantly digesting themselves. So with Circadia, we want to guarantee the efficacy and the potency every single time you apply it onto a client's skin. So that's why you want to mix these right before you apply it to the client's skin. So traditionally, it's you mix it 3 parts activator to 1 part powder. But kind of the thing that you're looking for is a very thin, loose kind of pancake batter. So the thinner consistency, the kind of more activity that the client feels. So you never want to make this super, super thick and apply it onto the client's skin for a couple of different reasons. It wasn't activated enough, so that it's going to take a little bit longer to digest protein. But two, it's a little harder to remove. So note that you will always go through 2 activators to 1 powder. Another thing that I do like to mention is all of the activity of the enzymes come from the powder, they don't come from the activator. So knowing that information, your activators are going to be completely universal. So the majority of your kind of that scent or that signature aroma is going to be in the activator. So we have some estheticians that like to utilize the cocoa activator to activate the raspberry enzyme on there. The other thing is enzymes are high functioning when they are damp or in a wet environment and also with heat. So all of our enzymes, we do call for heat, steamer, a hot towel, but the biggest thing is you want to keep them damp. If these enzymes were to dry out on the skin, they're no longer active. So to maintain the activity is when you want to make sure that they stay moist or damp onto the skin on it. Caitlin, do you have anything to add on this part?
No, I don't think so.
No. All right, so now we're going to kind of talk about the enzymes, kind of specifically each one individually, but kind of looking on here, just kind of in a nutshell, cocoa enzyme, least active, also has that raw Hershey's cocoa powder. So this is going to be beneficial. Think of this as your anti-inflammatory enzyme. So your oily, acne, sensitive rosacea, it is great for everybody, but if you're looking for a target market, that is who you can utilize that one for. Your raspberry enzyme is your brightening enzyme. So that does have the ability to slow down melanin production, but also has more activity compared to cocoa. And then the zymase enzyme, this is going to be your firming, tightening, toning, your vitamin C enzyme. So your target kind of demographic on that one is going to be more mature, damaged clientele. So first one that we have, so one thing I do want to, so all of the enzymes are going to have the same 3 digestive proteins. So the digestive proteins that you find in all three of these is going to be bromelain from pineapple, papain from papaya, and then trypsin is an enzyme that is typically found in the digestive tracts of humans and animals. Ours is actually synthetically derived, so we are not sourcing it from any type of animal sourcing on there. But one thing that's super unique about the trypsin is the trypsin enhances the ability for the enzymes to exfoliate that desmosome. So traditionally, as you saw that desmosome on that previous slide, most enzymes like bromelain and papain will digest the sidewalls of it, whereas the trypsin has the ability to digest the bottom part of it. So that's what makes this a very universal 360 exfoliation. So in addition to the cocoa enzyme having those same three digestive proteins, it also has that cocoa powder that you find in the actual mask part of it or the actual enzyme part of it. And that traditionally is mainly in there for kind of like the signature scent, the signature aroma, but the cocoa also has anti-inflammatory benefits, antioxidant benefits. You typically see the cocoa enzyme paired with our oxygen as like our chocolate and champagne treatment. But another thing that's really popular as far as one of our protocols go is going to be our s'mores treatment. So people love pairing the cocoa enzyme with our marshmallow whip hydrating mask. Then the next enzyme that we do have is called our raspberry enzyme. So our raspberry enzyme, think of this as your brightening enzyme. So in addition to it having that higher activity of the bromelain, papain, and trypsin, it does have a red raspberry seed extract. So the name on this one, raspberry enzyme, can be a little tricky or a little fooling on there. So it's not the actual fruit of the raspberry that's going to be in here. It's a red raspberry seed extract. And so the red raspberry seed extract, it is a natural form of azelaic acid that is a mild tyrosinase inhibitor. So in addition to this being able to remove those surface protein for your pigmented skin, it is also going to help to slow down melanin production. You find this protocol mainly kind of like a post-switch treatment. So it's amazing because it does give you a nice exfoliation, instant kind of glow to the skin as well. And then the last enzyme on here is called the zymase enzyme. So your zymase enzyme, kind of best way to think about this, you're gonna get some brightening benefits, but I like to market this and talk about this as a vitamin C enzyme. Our consumers out there, they know about vitamin C, the benefits that you get from vitamin C. But this has three different forms of vitamin C that it is in a powdered form. So it does have a lemon peel extract. It does have L-ascorbic acid that's in a powder form, and it also has citric acid. So these three different forms of vitamin C, they get activated at the same time that those enzymes get activated as well. So originally, the zymase enzyme, it was originally developed and formulated. So say you have that client and you feel like you want to give them a chemical peel, but they're not going to follow any of those post-pill precautions. It's just, we all have that client that we don't trust, but you still wanted to provide them with a little bit more of an exfoliation or kind of a bump up exfoliation. That's where you can utilize the zymase enzyme. It's going to be the most active compared to the other ones. One thing I do like to kind of mention about this though is so bromelain as an ingredient by itself, it's a pretty earthy smelling ingredient. The more bromelain that you do have in a product, you get more of that. I think I've heard with this one, baby. Caitlin, have you ever heard of baby bananas, like baby food? I don't have babies, so I have no idea what that smells like, but Caitlin has twins, so she minds.
It does. It does have, I refer to it as more of an earthy smell, but yes, I think it could smell a smidge like banana.
Yeah. So just know that both of those two enzymes, like the raspberry and the zymase, you don't get like an overly aroma kind of signature spa type of scent. But there's ways that you can still kind of make the client have a nice signature aroma. And I like to utilize something like the Australian Superberry antioxidant mask. So, for example, that is going to help to brighten the skin, exfoliate the skin. So, I would typically utilize like the zymase or the raspberry full face, and then for around like above the lip area, underneath the nose is when I'll add that Australian Superberry antioxidant mask for that signature scent or signature aroma. But however, you can pretty much make any of these other two enzymes into a cocoa smelling just by utilizing that activator.
And I would say too, just from personal experience with the Zymase, a lot of the times if you're treating a smoker's skin, they don't do well with more aggressive chemical peels. The heat from smoking and just all of the internal free radicals, it leads to inconsistencies in results, and also it opens you up a lot more for liability reasons. So the Zymase is a great option to get a really nice digestive exfoliation on the skin, but then it also covers you a little bit more from a liability perspective, knowing that they're not going to be outside exposing their skin to UV and UVB rays when they're outside smoking. Um, and you still can get a really good result. So that was my go-to for smoker clients. And then, as George had mentioned, somebody who's not going to be compliant, or somebody who might be going on a sunny vacation and they didn't give themselves enough time to do the peel before they were leaving, the Zymase is also a great option for that person.
Yeah, and then another thing that I do kind of want to mention, enzymes. So people always ask, how often can we do the enzymes? And so, me as like an esthetician, someone that does have experience in the treatment room, I would always kind of gauge my client to determine how frequently I could do something. But as a rule of thumb, every 2 weeks is ideal. But kind of pay attention to the client on that. Of course, if the client is more sensitive, reactive, maybe that should be every 3 weeks. But every 2 weeks is going to be perfectly fine. But when we get to some of our masks, those can be done every single week as well. All right, Ken, do you want to start us off with the marshmallow whip hydrating mask?
Sure. So the Marshmallow Whip Hydrating Mask, this is really going to be, or should be, a staple in your back bar products. Not only is it a wonderfully hydrating mask, we're using some really nice, innovative ingredient technology for internal hydration, but it's also going to be used to cut the intensity of any of the other treatment masks that might be just a little bit too exfoliating with maybe the Australian superberry, or a little bit too cooling with our snow algae and spirulina cooling mask. So just note that the Marshmallow Whip is going to be that buffer where you can actually mix equal parts, and it will cut the activity of any of the other masks that you're using. So I always like to have it in the treatment room for that purpose. It's also wonderful for your post-peel follow-up facial, or anybody that has rosacea, eczema, sensitive, compromised skin types. You're going to see some really nice immediate results. But as far as a hydration perspective, we're using the diffuporin peptide, which, if you've heard some of our other product knowledge lectures, you'll notice that this is the same ingredient that we're using in the aquaporin hydrating cream. And this particular peptide is designed to enhance water flow in and out of the cell. So all of our cells have what we call aquaporin channels that surround the cells. And for those who are intrinsically dehydrated, and this is your client that comes in and they're incredibly healthy, they drink plenty of water, you get them on the table, and they are immediately soaking up any product that you put on their skin. It doesn't matter how much water they drink or what kind of topicals you're using, they're just intrinsically dehydrated from a cellular perspective. So the diffuporin peptide is going to enhance the water flow in and out of the cell and rehydrate those aquaporin channels. On a side note, this particular peptide is fantastic for those who suffer from eczema or psoriasis. There's a marked absence of these aquaporin channels in both of those conditions. And as George had just mentioned before with enzymes, enzymes are the most active when they're in a wet environment. So if you can create that enzymatic reaction and you can create more water flow in and out of the cell, you can actually start to decrease some of the symptoms or side effects of eczema and psoriasis and bring a lot of comfort to those particular clients. On top of that, we have different weights. We have 3 different weights of hyaluronic acid. These weights are designed to, one, sit more on the surface of the skin, that's designed to really plump out fine lines and wrinkles and give you that instant gratification. We have another weight that's going to intrinsically hydrate the skin. And then the third is going to have to pull some of those other active ingredients deeper into the skin. Some of those other actives that we're utilizing are the marshmallow eco extract. The eco extract refers to it being an EcoCert organic ingredient, and marshmallow extract is incredibly soothing and has really nice calming properties to it as well. Now, a quick provider note on this mask is very thick. It really just goes on really heavy, and it has just that instant heavy kind of wet hydrating feel to it. It doesn't spread as easily because of that benefit. So if you really stir the mask up in the jar with a clean applicator, then you're going to be able to scoop it out much easier, and then it's going to spread on the skin a little bit easier as well. It kind of takes the form of the jar until you really give it a good stir, and that's going to make your application process a lot easier. But this is truly beneficial for all skin types. It's amazing in its instant hydrating capacity, great for rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, as I mentioned, and again, to cut or buffer the intensity of any of your other treatment masks.
Yeah, it is definitely great. So even a couple kind of keywords, if you're kind of describing it, think of it healing, hydrating, anti-inflammatory. So hydrates in different layers on there. But we do utilize it quite a bit to add additional healing and hydrating benefits to some of our other masks because it does have the ability to kind of cut down on some of the activity. But instead of thinking of it as cutting down the activity, think of it as adding additional healing and hydrating. So another thing, since this is kind of like your anti-inflammatory, anti-redness mask, this pairs extremely nicely with your cold therapy. So doing like a snow globe massage over top is amazing. Ice globe jade roller is just really beneficial. So we do utilize cold in the treatment room, or we utilize cold because we know cold is going to be a vasoconstrictor, where it's going to constrict capillaries, decrease blood flow, and that's just going to enhance the ability to reduce redness. So this is also part of that s'mores treatment, which people absolutely love. It does smell like marshmallows, but it's not that there's marshmallow sugary substance in here. It has that marshmallow root eco extract that is just an anti-inflammatory. So then the other mask that we do have, or one of the other masks, and we're going to talk about all of them, is called the snow algae and spirulina cooling mask. So this mask has almost like an intense cooling effect onto the client's skin upon application. So we are utilizing a menthol alternative that is going to cool the skin down. So as that cools the skin down, that can also decrease discomfort, decrease irritation. But one thing I do like to know is if we're utilizing this mask on someone that is compromised, that cooling sensation can come across almost as heat or discomfort just because they have that compromised barrier. So I always will mix this one with the marshmallow on my compromised or even my rosacea or sensitive skin. Someone that's more of like a normal skin type, skin condition, thicker on there, then I'll apply it just straight by itself as well. So in addition to it having that cooling effect on the skin, we do have two different ingredients in here that we like to feature. So one of those ingredients is called snow algae. So snow algae is this ingredient that got a lot of attention in the last couple years. The reason why it did get a lot of attention is because this algae, or this form of algae, it's a bright green color in like the spring and summer months. But as soon as it gets to like the fall winter, when traditional kind of plants kind of die off, this algae turns to a bright pink color. So these scientists, these doctors, these chemists, they were studying like why it actually does that. So what happens is it starts to enhance and change its own DNA. So when you apply this topically, it also is going to support our skin's DNA ability to repair its own DNA as well. So this is great for someone that can help to restructure the skin, someone that just needs additional reparative function into the skin. But even that sensitive rosacea is perfectly fine as well. But we paired that with the spirulina that does have just high in nutrients and different vitamin A, C, E, and K as well. So this mask is great, but just know that it does have that intense type of cooling effect that potentially can come across as irritation, but it's really just cooling, but it blends extremely nicely with the marshmallow mask as well. This is also the mask that we use to remove the fermine peptide mask. So I will talk about that a little bit more when we get to the fermine peptide mask, but it does have the ability to kind of break down the protein of that fermine peptide mask that makes the removal pretty much instantly as well.
I will add to that too. If you're doing upgrades, or if you really are wanting to get more out of your service, I'm a huge proponent of upgrades. You're committing to your client 45 to 60 minutes, whatever your service time is booked out for. You're committing that amount of time to them. So why not maximize the dollars that you're getting out of that 60 minutes? So if you book somebody in for a standard treatment, you can always add these different upgrades. Like a CBD massage can be an upgrade cost, or a eye and lip add-on. If you're using a combination of the snow algae and spirulina cooling mask and you combine that with the marshmallow whip hydrating mask, you can do that as an eye upgrade. I like to layer the emergency eye lift underneath and then do a little bit of a massage over top that combination of snow algae and marshmallow. And it gives a really nice cooling sensation. It can help to depuff the eyes. As George mentioned, utilizing ice globes is a great way to incorporate some additional cooling sensation. But that's a great way to, again, try and maximize the dollars that you're getting within that service.
Now we just got to my favorite mask. So I have absolutely been in love with this mask since it first came out and it first launched. So this mask is called Caviar Lime and Passion Fruit Enzyme Mask. So a couple ingredients that I do want to talk about in this one. One of them is the caviar lime extract. So, you may get clients that ask if there's fish eggs in here. So there's absolutely no fish eggs. So a caviar lime is a citrus fruit that is grown in the subtropics of Australia. However, this citrus fruit, people will also call it like a finger lime caviar on there. But this citrus fruit, the outside has the same texture as a traditional lime, except instead of it kind of in a cylindrical type of form, it's actually going to be more linear in structure, almost like a finger. So that's why you'll hear it called a finger lime caviar. However, this finger lime caviar, as soon as you cut it open, the fruit looks like little caviar eggs. So the fruit that's coming out of the caviar lime extract is going to be a second generation alpha hydroxy acid. So you get all of the key benefits of an alpha hydroxy acid, but you don't get the irritation that you could potentially get from like a lactic or glycolic acid. So I like to think of this as like a gentle exfoliator. So we paired the caviar lime extracts with an encapsulated bromelain enzyme. So traditionally, you can't really put acids and enzymes together in a pre-solubilized formulation. But the reason why this one is going to be completely stable is because that bromelain enzyme is going to be encapsulated. So as soon as you apply this onto the skin, your client really doesn't feel much for the first 10, 15 seconds. Once the encapsulation of that bromelain gets a burst, that's when the client will start to feel not really discomfort, but that movement, that traditional enzyme movement onto the client's skin. So there's different ways that you can enhance the exfoliation of this mask. It's great with steam, it's great with the hot towel, but mine and Caitlin's personal favorite way to utilize this as a massaging type of mask. We will just utilize gloved hands. And so the heat of our hands plus the heat of the client is what's bursting that encapsulation. You get amazing slip with this, and you'll notice that it kind of transforms on the skin once it starts to dissolve those proteins. It almost like reactivates a little bit. The passion fruit that you do find in here, mainly in here for the scent on there. So one thing I do like to mention, so if you've never smelt passion fruit, you're not going to get a passion fruit scent. Or if your clients are walking in with a passion fruit tea from Starbucks that just smells like sugar, they're not going to smell passion fruit. So I was the exact same way. So I was just like, Michael Pugliese, this is not passion fruit. But I had never smelled a real passion fruit before until our team went to Hawaii. And of course, there was passion fruit. And I was like, okay, it does smell like our mask as well. But it's like an acquired smell, I would say. So now I absolutely love this mask. This mask is also part of our staycation facial kit as well. So we do have staycation kits that we launched at the beginning of the pandemic. So we are still utilizing the staycation kits. So we haven't got rid of those. And we're also still offering the drop shipping program as well. Kaylin, you want to go through Australian berry?
Sure. So the Australian Superberry Antioxidant Mask, it's kind of a mouthful when you have to read the full name, but we are using 3 berries that are indigenous to the Australian outback. We're using ryeberry, pepperberry, and munchries. And I love these 3 particular extracts because when we're talking about antioxidants and how antioxidants work to quench out free radicals, especially in the form of things like vitamin C, it's designed to quench out. So one antioxidant is designed to quench out one free radical. And usually at that point, unless it can be regenerated by vitamin E, that's done its job. So with pepperberry, ryeberry, and munchries, it's like a lasso So imagine it can neutralize and quench out multiple free radicals at a time. So it just has a lot more staying power and a lot more just powerful antioxidant properties in general. And the combination of those three has kind of a compounding effect. So it's really going to just enhance the amount of antioxidant properties that it has when you use all three together. And then on top of that, we have a combination of lactic and mandelic acid. So it's designed to just enhance or boost up that exfoliation that you did with your enzyme or with one of our gel based peels during the exfoliation portion of your treatment. So this is going to be really beneficial for your anti-aging clients for hyperpigmentation. If you've ever listened to any of our pigmentation lectures, we talk a lot about exfoliation in the treatment room, really removing some of those surface proteins that are housing the pigment, and that leads to instant lightening results. We know that we're not necessarily changing the function of the melanocyte in one treatment, but we can very effectively remove those surface proteins and give that instant brightened look to the skin. So the Australian Superberry antioxidant mask is fantastic for that purpose. It's great for your dry, dehydrated skin types as well. We love mixing the marshmallow whip with the Australian Superberry, not only to help to buffer maybe the intensity of the lactic and the mandelic, but it also adds that extra hydrating component, and the smell of that is amazing. So lots of different mixology options with our masks, but this is really going to be most beneficial for pigmentation and anti-aging.
Yeah, it is. I love this mask as well, but I am still fan favorite of the caviar lime. But I did just want to answer a question really quick. So Linda, I definitely appreciate you asking this question. So this is so with all of the masks in general, once you dispense them into like a little dish, I recommend to kind of whip them up or mix them a little bit and kind of break it. So the caviar lime and passion fruit enzyme mask, I don't recommend to kind of mix that in the dish before application. Well, okay, so in the actual full 8 ounce. So don't mix it in the actual prepackaged bottle that did come from Circadia. Dispense it into a little dish and then mix it and whip it up. So even the marshmallow mask, the Australian, just right before you apply it to the client's skin, you want to take your fan brush or even like a wooden wax applicator and kind of just pre-mix it into the little bowl or the little dish upon application, and you'll be able to spread it a little bit more. So as Caitlin kind of mentioned, like that marshmallow whip hydrating mask, it is a thicker mask. So if you just try to apply that without kind of pre-softening it a little bit, it's not gonna go on as smooth. So with that one, you really want to kind of mix it up. Sometimes what I'll do with that marshmallow whip hydrating mask is I will dispense a little bit right before I'm going to apply it onto my client's skin, maybe like 5-10 minutes before. But I will put it in a hot towel cabbie in like a glass kind of dish. So I have it kind of in there, and that's kind of softening it up a little bit. And then when you apply it onto the client's skin, it smooths on extremely nicely. But then you can do the cold. So it's like the hot and cold type of treatment. All right, so our next mask that we're going to talk about is called the firming peptide mask. So this has been a fan favorite for quite a bit of time since we first launched this mask, actually. So the firming peptide mask, it's a great mask because it provides that instant gratification, but you also get long-term benefits with this mask as well. So the instant gratification that you will see with this mask is it does instantly plump up those fine lines and wrinkles. So the way that this is working onto the client's skin is it does utilize two different peptides. So one of them is L-carnosine and L-carnitine. So those two peptides do get infused into the skin. However, the kind of a component to this that does provide that instant gratification and also the long term is going to be the ability of this mask and how it's going to tighten and harden onto the client's skin. So let's kind of talk about vasoconstriction, vasodilation really quick. So when you first mix this mask up and you apply it onto the client's skin, it's going to start to harden and tighten quite a bit. So as this mask is hardening and tightening onto the skin, it's starting to constrict those capillaries. So it's constricting, constricting. So think of that as pumping blood flow up to the surface of the skin. So as soon as you remove this mask, those same kind of capillaries, they will dilate. So this constrict and dilate is creating a microcirculation. This microcirculation is one, detoxifying the skin, but it's also transferring oxygen into the mitochondria. So as it transfers and it oxygenates the skin, so it does detoxify, but that oxygen, your body is going to recognize that oxygen and it's going to start to produce ATP energy. So your skin is now going to have ATP energy that will increase cell turnover. But another key benefit of that, if it's also going to produce, or it's going to boost fibroblast activity. So by producing fibroblast activity, our body is now producing collagen, elastin, fibronectin, and it's all that constriction, dilation that is absolutely happening. So this mask sometimes can be a love to hate relationship at first. And the reason for it is the mixing is, if you don't know the tips and tricks of the professional to mix it, you're going to notice it may clump up. So kind of my tips and tricks is when I mix it, I do equal parts. So I will do 2 parts mask, 2 parts activator. So I will put those into a dish or into a bowl. So I don't mix it. I will put the activator in my dish first, and then I will sprinkle the powder on. And I'll just take like a wooden applicator and press it into the powder. And then I just leave it alone for like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the start of the facial. Then when I'm going to go and I'm going to apply it onto the client's skin, then I will just take like a wooden applicator, a whisk, something like that, and you'll notice it instantly mixes up and it just lays onto the client's skin pretty much extremely nicely. Another thing that's kind of unique about this mask is there's no right way or wrong way to mix it. So think of this, if you make it a little bit thinner, the thinner it is, the quicker it's going to dry, but not as much instant gratification. So I like to make it a little bit thinner for my younger skin. However, for more my mature skin is when I'll make it a little bit thicker. Just know if it's a thicker consistency, it's going to take longer to dry, and it may be a little bit harder to remove if you're not following kind of the tips and tricks on there. So the removal process as well. So what you want to do to remove it, and so this mask, you want it to fully harden on the skin. So it typically takes about 20 to 30 minutes to actually dry. So that's when you want to incorporate like hand and arm massage, neck and décolleté massage, something like that. Or you can utilize a fan to speed up the drying time. But I like to just have it dry naturally. So kind of the removal process, you want to utilize 2 different products to kind of remove it. So what you're going to do is you're going to mix some lipid replacing cleansing gel. You're going to mix that with a little bit of snow algae. So you don't need much. So then you'll just add a couple drops of water. You're going to take a fan brush. And what you're going to do is you're going to whip those 2 products together. So it was the snow algae and it was also the lipid replacing cleansing gel and a little bit of water. So you whip it up and you're going to notice it's going to foam up quite a bit. So that foaming is gonna almost like a shave cream, I would say, consistency. Apply that foam over top this mask the last maybe 3 to 4 minutes that you're gonna leave it on the skin, and apply a warm towel over top. So that mixture is gonna start to dissolve the protein of this mask, and the hot towel is just gonna completely soften it up. So as soon as you remove that hot towel, utilize that warm or hot towel to take off the rest of the mask, and you'll notice it instantly comes up off of the client's skin. Caitlin, you have anything to add on this guy?
I will say that George made a great video that details out the mixing procedure. If you're a visual person, it's really nice to see some of those pro tips that he has. So we'll make sure to post that again on our forum. If you're not part of our Circadia educational forum, it is a forum on Facebook. It's a wonderful resource for anybody who's looking to enhance what they're offering with Circadia, get other Circadia users from around the world. So again, it's on Facebook, it's Circadia Educational Forum, and we do have the video posted there, but we'll repost it and pin it to the top so you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, and so Caitlin actually just she had a call with one of our Circadia partners this morning, and so they had showed us a protocol that they created, and it was a before and after that just happened once. And so one thing that was really unique about this before and after, they combined 3 of our signature treatments in one. So they did utilize our oxygen treatment combined with the firming peptide mask with also our Protect Plus booster for hydrofacial. And all of these 3 treatments work synergistically together to plump up fine lines and wrinkles, reduce redness, reduce bacteria. So it was great kind of before and after. So Caitlin is working with this partner to see if we can get a photo release so we can kind of share this information out. So I know me just talking about it is not doing it justice.
It's a wonderful before and after, and we do have some nice programs that we're going to be launching later on in Q4 on some before and after incentives. So, really doing a nice call to action to all of our partners to collect some of these before and afters, and doing some really nice shout outs on social, but also giving you and your customer some gratis for using before and afters. So, stay tuned for that. We did get a quick question in the chat section, George. You had mentioned something about using the marshmallow whip to remove. I think it was the caviar to remove.
So it's the snow algae. So I apologize that. So kind of just to clarify, to remove it's snow algae and also the lipid replacing cleansing gel. So not the marshmallow. I know I tried to catch myself. I felt those words coming out, but it's not marshmallow. It's going to be snow algae and also the lipid replacing cleansing gel. And then kind of the other question on here. So this mask can be done weekly as a standalone treatment. But if you're going to follow more of our protocols where we call for you to exfoliate the skin, that's when you would do it every 2 weeks. But if it's more of a standalone mask by itself, you can absolutely utilize this one every single week.
Okay, great. And we did have one other question that came in as far as doing a broad overview of some points of differentiation between our firming peptide mask versus there is another brand that has a firming mask similar to ours as far as what you're visually seeing, which is the DMK mask. And we're not overly familiar with the functionality behind that particular mask, but just a broad generalization, both of them are using an albumin base. And albumin in its nature is what is designed to create that really intense tightening effect. Um, Albumin masks have been highly, highly popular ever since the early 90s because of that nice instant gratification that you're getting. Our points of differentiation, and again, I can't speak too much to the ingredient profiles in the other mask, are the aspartic and glumatic acid. These are basically, when combined in one formulation and administered in a treatment, they create infinite amounts of amino acids and different protein combinations to create different peptides. So we call this our firming peptide mask because those combine together to create these nice peptide chains. And we're also using L-carnosine and L-carnitine, which are two building block amino acids that again come together to create some fantastic peptide technology. They have nice anti-glycation capabilities and also wonderful antioxidant support. On top of that is the beta glucan that stimulates the natural repair mechanisms. Dr. Pugliese actually did one of the very first studies on topical beta glucan, and in a punch biopsy that he was looking at under a microscope, he actually visibly saw the Langerhans cells reaching up to grab the beta glucan. So it's a fantastic ingredient for healing. Those before and after pictures that George had mentioned, you see an instant reduction in redness, and that has a lot to do with activating that natural repair system within the skin. So those are what we feel are our points of differentiation, really addressing this as more of, yes, it has great instant firming effects, but really infusing a lot of this peptide technology into the skin.
All right. So I believe we answered all the questions in once. So we did talk about kind of what makes this mask unique. We talked about the glycation. So the glycation aspect on here is going to be with the L-carnosine on there, which is another amino acid, or it's going to be a peptide as well. And then the L-carnitine in here is going to help to shuttle the fatty acid into the mitochondria as well. So both of these amino acids or these peptides are also taken as supplements as well. So this mask is great if you are in like a gym setting or you're talking skincare to someone that works out quite a bit because they know about ATP energy, they know about these amino acids. So this mask is going to be great for those clientele as well. So the other two masks that I'm gonna talk about these together, but then I will talk about them separately as well. So for you kind of true fans of Circadia who has been with Circadia for many, many years, you realize that we had only had green tea mask and red tea mask up until maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And that's when we launched the rest of these masks. So we do have a green tea mask and a red tea mask. So both of these masks are going to be your traditional clay-based masks. So when you apply these onto the client's skin, they will function just like a traditional clay mask that is going to kind of harden and dry up onto the client's skin. What's great about both these masks is as they dry up and harden on the skin, you do see those little pockets of oil. So you can show a client where their T-zone is or where their extra oilier areas are on there as well. Both of these masks do have a stimulating kind of reaction, not reaction, but you do feel a little bit of kind of you just feel something happening on it. But the way that you want to think about both these masks as separate is your green tea mask does have the green tea in there. So I like to think of the green tea as more detoxifying. So this is going to be great for your oily acne clientele, where think of the red tea as more nourishing and it's going to add additional vitamins into the skin. So red tea mask is also going to be great for more of your aging, mature pigmentation on there. But the key difference between the two is just the type of tea that we're utilizing. Green tea, both of them are going to be antioxidants. However, your green tea is more detoxifying. Red tea is more nutrient antioxidant support on there as well. So both of these masks, they are great to either include into a body treatment or a body facial because your cost per usage is going to be minimal compared to the other clinical masks that we do have. Another thing is you want to utilize both these masks for your intro facial or your beginning facial. So we are always kind of getting that client in that maybe doesn't have the budget as somebody that wants a more, different type of treatment. So utilize this for either your express facials or your quick, you need to just get a client in, they don't have a lot of money to spend and you want your cost per usage to be lower. All right, Caitlin, I'm gonna pumpkin perfecti mask. I'm gonna give this one to you.
Well, hopefully you all have had the opportunity to at least hear about our new pumpkin perfecting mask. We just recently launched this just in time for the fall season and to get all of those fall facials booked. The aroma of the pumpkin perfecting mask is amazing. We actually custom blended this aroma through our partner Sinseek, which actually I think that they changed their trade name. I'll have to double check that. But we use different blends of aromatics that are basically shredded to mimic different aromas. So that's why we are considered a fragrance-free brand, because all of our fragrance is coming from natural fragrancing properties. And we were working with this company and we wanted something that had that really nice pumpkin, but also had a little bit of that spice aroma to it. So nothing that they had was what we were looking for. So we custom blended something, which was really fun process to do, and it turned out wonderful. On top of that, we're using obviously pumpkin, which is incredibly rich in its antioxidant and vitamins, mostly talking about vitamin C, vitamin E, but beta carotene, which is the precursor to vitamin A. So it's really rich in all of those wonderful vitamins. And then we've added the benefit of bakuchiol. And bakuchiol has been around for quite some time. When we were originally formulating this mask, we actually found a sample of bakuchiol that we had received about 5 years ago that was just in our ingredient quarantine. So it has been an ingredient that's been around for quite some time. It's just recently that it's gained a lot of momentum with manufacturing. But it has some incredible clinicals behind it, being a vitamin A alternative. So it really helps to stimulate your collagen and elastin and really helping to enhance or activate those anti-aging genes, very similar to your standard retinol. Again, with some fantastic clinicals, but without any of the irritation that sometimes is associated with your standard retinoic acid or retinol. So you basically get all of the benefits without the side effects. And it also can help to inhibit or decrease the amount of lipid peroxidation that happens within the cell. So it's multifunctional. It is a wonderful ingredient. We're excited to be introducing it to the Circadia collection. And this mask couldn't have come out at a better time. So it's just a fan favorite. We do have some wonderful turnkey protocols. We have 3 different protocols that are utilizing this mask with our gel-based peels, our pumpkin peel protocol. We also have it being used with our Marshmallow Whip hydrating mask, which I'm sure you can imagine is incredibly decadent. It has wonderful results, but is really truly that luxury experience. And then we also are incorporating the pumpkin mask with some of our enzymes, like our cocoa enzyme. And again, really delivering that nice, decadent, nice aroma, but very active and corrective facial at the same time.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the signature ones, which is our pumpkin perfecting facial. So, this does combine the marshmallow mask, but it also is combined with the pumpkin. So, this has been an extremely kind of favorite. We've seen tons of social media kind of posting just on this treatment. Kind of the biggest thing on it though is people love those two smells together. So we do have a whole entire kind of mixology that we'll be introducing with this as well. But once again, just make sure you are part of that Facebook forum because that's where we typically will release all the information first as well. So then also I did want to kind of mention, since we did a mask and enzyme webinar, our masks and enzymes are buy three, get one free, mix and match. So this is an amazing opportunity to kind of stock up those shelves as well. Another thing I did want to mention is that pumpkin perfecting mask with the bakuchiol. Currently it's released as a seasonal item. So we have kind of not really limited inventory. We're going to produce this especially throughout the whole entire holiday season, holiday time on it. I'm not sure if we have decided if we're going to extend it past the holiday season or past this. So currently it's seasonal. We just don't know what the who wants a June pumpkin facial. I know I would. Caitlin, do you?
Yes.
All right, so this is kind of the specials that we have. And then we just also wanted to give a little sneak peek. So nobody really knows about these quite yet, but as I mentioned, we are going to have our holiday kits that are going to be launched next week. As of right now, we will start to take orders on the 30th of the month. However, you will have a whole entire kind of marketing that is being put together. You will have all the additional components to these that will be released early next week as well. But these are a little bit different compared to what we've typically done for the holiday time. So, we got a lot of feedback on our holiday kits last year and how people really enjoyed them. But there's always room for improvement. So we tend to kind of improve on our kind of kits every single year. So this is going to be in a Circadia branded cosmetic bag. So it just has a sleeve over it. On this blue part, it's going to say Circadia in silver foil. That's going to be there on the bottom of this actual purse or this cosmetic bag as well. So kind of the naming that we did is we are going to have 4 different kits that will be coming out. We have one of them that is called All is Bright. So All is Bright is going to be your skin brightening system. So this has all of the fan favorites that are in the Circadia brightening line. We have Slay All Day, which is going to be the Circadia Essentials. We have All is Calm, which is going to be the sensitive skin system. And then we have Let It Glow. And Let It Glow is pretty much the skin radiant system. So it doesn't really focus on decreasing pigmentation production. Let It Glow is going to be more of your glowing to the skin. So it does have like our Aquaporn hydrating cream, our Revitasite. So you all are the first to see this. I don't even think some of our reps have seen this yet. So I better let them know ASAP. So kind of sneak peek. So more information on these. We've been working on the actual design in the sleeve for a couple months now. And so Michael has a very creative eye as far as he knows what to be foiled. So we have all been putting a lot of attention to these and they just look really, really gorgeous.
I also just wanted to add, we have the kits are highly discounted as far as our wholesale pricing. And we also wanted to just, take into consideration being in a pandemic. And we wanted to make sure that the holiday kits were affordable to the consumer as well. So most of the kits are retailing for under $100. They're already discounted to you as our wholesale partner. So these are designed to really help to boost your end of year revenue, but also to be able to offer something that is a great overall kit that's really going to create a lot of nice change in your client's skin, but also to deliver it at an affordable cost. So we're super excited about launching these. These will be available to purchase on October 30th. So we're taking pre-orders on the 30th and we're expecting to start shipping by the 4th. So kind of similar process to how we were able to take pre-orders for the pumpkin mask. Same thing with the kits. They are going to be limited editions. So I would suggest to reach out to your business development manager right away on the 30th to make sure you place your order for them. We'll have a lot of social content that we're putting out there to help to promote them that you can put onto your pages. But if you have any additional questions on it, feel free to reach out to our corporate office or to your individual business development manager.
Yeah, and then the other thing on here, so we do know we're still kind of in the middle of a pandemic, so most storefronts are closed, are limited capacity, so they will also be available for drop ship as well. So just kind of know that out there. Of course, we want you to kind of stock up your shelves just because they have that visual presence, but if needed, they will be available for drop ship with the rest of our products. And so here is the kind of contact information for Circadia. So if you just went to kind of circadia.com, you can access a lot of the information there, info@Circadia. One thing I do want to mention is we have started to implement online ordering for our Circadia website. So we have currently just kind of soft launched it and just to kind of test functionality, test everything on it. If you all wanted to be part of that online ordering and that's something that interests you versus having to send emails or phone calls, just shoot us an email at info@circadia.com and our website administrator will be able to get you set up with online ordering. The only thing that is required to become to utilize online ordering is that we have updated new account paperwork from you all, and it's just a quick, takes 10-15 minutes to sign via DocuSign. But once you send us that, we get that account paperwork, then we'll be able to give you access to online ordering as well. Again, and we still have the hand sanitizer, Barbara. We definitely do. All right, so that is gonna kind of wrap up the presentation that we have for everyone today. So I definitely appreciate everyone's time. Definitely thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you. Have
Oh,
a great rest of your week.
so Denise is asking if WOW would be added for online ordering in conjunction with Circadia. So there's still kind of two separate businesses on there. So currently we will not have any of the WOW products on the Circadia website, but they do have their own kind of ordering system. And then you would be able to just kind of give us a call and say like, add this to the order or something like that. Okay, all right. Thank you guys so much.